it's my turn to tell you my story. I grew up in a small town in northeastern Arizona. When I was 8, my mom, older sister, and I moved into an old adobe house in one of the older neighborhoods. From what we were told, the house was over 100 years old. It was a large 3-bedroom house with large rooms and long, narrow hallways. I hated it. From the moment we moved in, I absolutely hated it. My mom's room was on the front of the house, just off of the dining room. There was a covered porch, the living room with a large picture window. The dining room also had a large picture window. The kitchen faced on the side of the house, then a back porch. The hallway off of the kitchen led to the bathroom in my sister's room. Then there was a random hallway leading to nowhere in the middle of the house. It was just there. Parallel to that was the hallway where my room was, which joined the hall where the bathroom was. Confused yet? Sorry, just giving you some background. In the winter, my mom's room was roasting hot, even when the rest of the house was cold, but in the summertime, her room was freezing cold. She had to have tons of blankets on her bed while we were sleeping with just sheets. It started with my mom. In the middle of the night, she and my older sister came and woke me up and took me into the living room. There was a large arched doorway that separated the living room from the dining room. We were huddled on the couch, and my mom said that she was lying in bed and her room was freezing. Then she heard a sound in the attic, like a brick being dragged across the floor up there. What happened next was that it moved down into the wall. Remember, this is a solid adobe structure, and then under the house. That was followed quickly by the sound of rushing water in the attic, in the wall, under the house. Then the curtains started moving. The windows were shut, by the way. She freaked and woke my sister up, who was 16 at the time. My sister went in there, and then she heard it too, and then the lights went out. From then on, my mom would not sleep in her room. She slept in the hide-a-bed, in the living room. We called my uncle to come over and check things out. Nothing in the attic. Empty. Nothing under the house. This aunt and uncle had lived in the house several years before, and my aunt told my mom that she used to hear babies crying in the night, and it wasn't even her kids that were crying. They were sound asleep. Well then, all kinds of weird stuff started happening. I'd be in my room, and my mom would be in the kitchen. I'd hear her call me and tell me to come into the kitchen quick. I'd go running, and she'd tell me that she never called me. Every night, for a year, when we sat down to dinner in the dining room, someone would knock on the front door. Every single night. At first we'd go and check, but no one would be there. Then, we sat down, and they'd knock again. Finally, we just gave up, and they'd stay there and knock on the door while we ate dinner. We often heard doors shut, where there were no doors, catch glimpses of someone passing down the hall and into my sister's bedroom. I hated being there alone after school, so I'd sit on the front porch by the front door until my mom came home. Oftentimes, we'd catch someone peeking in our windows from outside, only to run to the window or outside and find no one there. At night when I tried to sleep, I'd hear someone pacing down the hall. Every night, up and down the hall, in front of my bedroom, pacing. Appliances were turned back on after my mom would turn them on. Voices whispering all the time, crashing noises, banging noises, all kinds of stuff. One day, I came home from school and could hear someone breathing. Things got worse and more intense as time wore on. One day, I wrecked my bike and screwed my leg up pretty bad. That night I slept in the hide-a-bed in the living room with my mom. She got up at 5:30 to take a shower and get ready for work. I turned the TV on. I saw something out of the corner of my eye in the dining room, so I turned to look. There was a very tall man standing in the arched doorway leading to the dining room, just standing there. All I saw was from the chest down. He was wearing a red t-shirt and jeans, just standing there. I didn't see a head or anything. Of course, I absolutely flipped out, screaming, and he disappeared. That was the last straw. We moved out. It was empty for years after that. After about 8 years, Someone else moved in, and they lived there for about 7 years. I wonder if they hear things too, or if they just got accustomed to it. I still dream about the house at least once or twice a month. Very weird. Thanks. My name is Lisa Wilson, and I'm 15 years old, and live in a house that is only 14 years old. I've always believed in ghosts. There have been times when I might have seen one, lots of times, but I can't be sure. These are 2 of those times. The first time was about 2 years ago, in the summertime. My friend and I were walking through the small field across from my house, and when we looked back towards the park beside my house, a little brown-haired girl with jeans and a pink sweater ran out of the bushes towards us. For some reason, we were so scared, and so we ran. When we got to the rows out of the field and looked back, she wasn't anywhere. That was on a Friday. The very next Friday, at around the same time, we were walking through another field. This one had a little path with really long grass all around. All of a sudden, my friend screamed and ran. I thought she saw a snake, so I ran too. After we got out of the field, we stopped running, and I asked her what it was. She said that it was the little girl. She was sitting on top of the long grass, which of course couldn't happen because the grass would have sunk down. The next Friday, we went out hoping to see her again, and maybe this time talk to her, but she didn't show up, and we haven't seen her since. The second time was in my house, about 1.5 years ago. I was sleeping, and I know I was dreaming about something scary, because when I woke up, I felt startled. All of a sudden, there was a huge flash of blue light, and 2 people, a man and a woman, banged against my wall. They were holding on to each other like a hug, and hit my wall sideways, and made a huge bang. I thought I must have dreamt it, so I just got up and got a glass of water. The next morning, my brother told me that he heard me. I thought he meant when I was getting the water, but when I asked, he said no, that huge bang. I couldn't have hit the wall myself because it would have hurt a lot, so I couldn't have been dreaming. I hope that these were real ghost experiences because I've always been extremely interested in them, but if not, then I don't know what they could be. I just thought I'd share that, and I hope you enjoyed reading it. My name is John, and this happened when I was 10 or 11 years old, so it would be around 1978 or 79. While I was younger, I was involved with the church, and this happened one Sunday morning while I was setting up for Mass. I was the only one in the building setting up when I heard a loud bang coming from the choir loft at the other end of the building. Curious, I stepped out from where I was and called out hello, and there was no answer, so I figured that the person just didn't hear me and was just doing what they needed to do in getting ready. I was looking up the chair loft to see if I could see the person, and there was no one there, and figured that someone had just fallen down, and the noise just echoed throughout the church. I was just going through the normal, rational ideas to come up with a reason for what I had just heard. Right then and there, I had a feeling that I wasn't alone. Normally, I wouldn't have minded, because I figured that the organist came in early to get ready, but this was different. I had this uneasy feeling that not only was my life in jeopardy, but my soul was. It was a fear that I never felt before, or since. As I was looking up at the chair loft, I couldn't see anyone yet. I could sense that there was something up there. It then appeared to me. It was a shapeless and formless figure, and it was exuding, or giving off this evil that just penetrated through me like sound would at a concert if you were standing too close to the amps. What I felt went way beyond the fight or flight reaction people talk about when faced with a situation like this. I was frozen there, beyond being scared, and my mind didn't process things for a few seconds. Then all of a sudden, I guess my mind snapped back to reality, and I just ran and took off out of the church and stayed there. I then saw the priest come out of the rectory and started going over to the church. I didn't realize how far I ran until I started walking back to the church. I'd ran about 100 to 150 feet from the church when the priest had finally seen me fully dressed to take part in the mass and seen how freaked out I was. He asked me what had happened, so I'd told him what happened and what I'd seen and felt. He tried to reassure me that it was probably my imagination, that it was an old church, and that it might have been just something falling or something mechanical. The thing is, I've been in that building long enough to know the sounds of the mechanical devices when they kick on and off. Another thing that I know is that my imagination wouldn't give me that life-threatening feeling of being able to tell me that there was something giving off such evil that reverberated throughout my body. I've always been a skeptical person, even since I was this age, and not only that, I've never let my mind get the better of me. I've never lost my faith in God and His advisory, and I feel that's what this one was. Some kind of evil spirit or demon, and since that day, whenever I went into that church, I always made sure that there would be someone else there so that I wouldn't have to come across that thing again. Then again, this wouldn't be the first time I've come across something like this. But then again, that's a story for another time. It's because of this situation that I became curious about the paranormal, and yet I still try to rationalize everything. When dealing with a situation like this, I believe that saying if you rule out the probable, all that remains, however improbable, must be possible. I still feel funny talking about this because the only people that seem to believe me are the children around here. We moved to this 120-year-old farmhouse about 4 years ago. When we first moved here, my youngest son was 3. He would ride his tricycle back and forth from the living room to the kitchen, which at the end was the basement door. I was doing the dishes when he turned to me and asked me to stop laughing at him. I told him I didn't say anything, so he proceeded to go back to the living room and back again. When he reached the basement door, he turned to me and said, "Can you hear them, Mommy? They're laughing at me." I left it alone, but I never forgot it. As time went on, little things would happen that really got my attention, like the smell of perspiration when nobody was around. It would only last a minute or two, and would only be in one spot of the room. I would go to other parts of the room, but could smell nothing, until I went back to the original spot, and it would still be there. I would also smell it, as if it were just passing by in front of me, and then be gone. This continued for the next year, and then one day, I laid down with my son for a nap. It was about 1 in the afternoon. I would wait until he fell asleep, and then I would get up, but before I could move, our bed started shaking for no reason. It only lasted a couple of minutes. After that, things happened a lot. My 8-year-old started to get smacked on the leg when he was asleep. He would always come downstairs afraid after it would happen. I started getting nudged in my leg at night, like someone was trying to wake me up. I'm a very light sleeper, so I would wake up immediately and look all around my bed and my room, but nobody was there. One night, when I was sleeping, I felt something lay across my legs. I tried to move, but it was so heavy, so I started to kick real hard and crazy, and it went away. Again, nothing was there. My son was 5 when he asked me if I could see the man's work boots standing in my dining room. He would see black things floating by and asked if I saw them. He would describe them like shadows. But the clincher was when we were all sleeping at 4 a.m. in the morning, and my dresser started shaking so hard I thought I was going to fall over. I spoke to my pastor's wife about it, and she said they say a prayer every night and then ask the Lord to protect them from any harm or evil. I started to do that with my children as well, and we added it to our prayers, but we also added spirits also, and we've never had another problem since. Occasionally, I do still smell him from time to time, and I do still hear footsteps across the ceiling when nobody is upstairs, but that's no problem. I don't mind. Thanks for giving me a place to tell my story and not feel like I'm crazy. My friend's sister-in-law has had a lot of weird experiences in her house, and so have other people who have been there. I'm not going to go into detail about them, but I'm just going to list a few before she got her second dog, Harvey. The first one she had always used to run into the computer room in the middle of the night and just stand there barking. and when she got her other dog Max, he also did the same, but instead, it was in the kitchen. My friend's mom was helping clean up one day when he heard someone scream in her ear. When she went downstairs, her nephew was the only one there, and he hadn't heard anything. Also, my friend's sister-in-law saw the shadow of the man out of the corner of her eye, and sometimes the kettle turns itself on and off. One time, I slept there for 2 nights, and I never noticed anything. I was even walking around the house in the pitch black dark to find the dog, and I still never noticed anything. Recently, she put the house up for sale because of everything that went on. My friend and her sister-in-law were going into town that morning. First, there was a man coming to value the house, so we went and sat there for 15 minutes. The man was just talking to her about the house when he heard this sort of dragging sound, and it sounded like the kettle boiling also, but we didn't say anything, just looked at each other and waited to see if the man would notice, but he either didn't or didn't want to say anything. When the man had left, we were just heading out the door, and we looked into the kitchen to see that the kettle had been dragged right forward to the edge of the counter. Whether it had boiled or not, I don't know. I work at the Days Inn by the airport in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I am almost positive we have a ghost occupying one of our rooms. I was taking a picture of the hotel for a website and brochure and had downloaded the images to the computer behind the front desk. The hotel facade had a few flaws, cracks here and there, so I thought I'd mask them with a Photoshop type program. To get a better idea where the flaws were, I made a negative copy of the picture to see what needed to be fixed. I zoomed in on a small crack in the stucco on the second floor, one room over from the lobby area. I zoomed back out to see how large this was, and happened to look at the glass in the window of room 207. There appeared to be an elderly gentleman looking out at me. I showed this picture to a few coworkers, and most of them agreed that there was someone looking at me. Unfortunately, now, housekeeping won't even clean that room if for some reason it gets rented. I have a few pictures from inside that room that I'll be sending as soon as I can remember where I put the discs. One pic is taken from directly outside the door and has an orb. The next is inside the room and has what I can only describe as a floating worm light. I suspect Henry, well, he's got to have a name, just likes it up there because it's peaceful. Few guests have complained about chills or a bumping noise, but nothing more than that. Still, it would be really nice to find out for certain just what is going on up there. What I find funny is that I've had one of my friends and coworkers go up there with me just so I could take the pictures. I'm a 6'2", 240-pound male, and she's 6 foot and weighs about 115. What kind of chicken am I? Oh well, better to be safe than sorry. If any pro ghost hunters happen to be in the area and want to check it out, drop me a line. I'll give you a good rate. I just remembered something that happened to one of the girls that works here though. Shortly after I showed her the pictures at 207, she went up there by herself, looked around, and then sat on the bed. The smoke detector was directly above her and fell, giving her a small lump and a big scare. I guess he doesn't like her too much. One other thing. Just this morning, I heard some tapping upstairs. There's no one on the second floor right now. I only have 5 people in the house, and they are all at the end of the hallway on the first floor. Maybe Henry doesn't like getting publicity. My house is haunted by something, someone. It's never really bothered me. It's nothing big. Doors opening, radio turning on and off by itself, footsteps, floorboards quake, noises in the attic. But as I said, it never really bothered me until about 4 months ago. I always wake up in the middle of the night, but one night, I woke up around 2:30 a.m. to a tight feeling in my chest. It wasn't so much tight as it was heavy, like a weight or something, but it wasn't all that. After a while, I couldn't get back to sleep, so I tried to put on my TV, only to find I couldn't move. When I tried to sit up from a glass of water, the weight on my chest got heavier. It was like someone was sitting on me, like a child, not moving, just a weight. I tried to arch my back, and the weight got heavier, and I couldn't breathe. I really started to panic and sweat. I was extremely scared at this point. I started to cry a little because I didn't know what to do. Then, all of a sudden, I felt a slight pinching on my right elbow, and that's all I can remember. I woke up the next morning feeling fine, just as I did the day before, although I had a red mark where I felt the pinch. I don't understand why on earth the ghost in my house will be sitting on me. Nothing has occurred since the normal phenomena, and an extra thing has started now. In the bathroom, we have a pulley light switch and a hanging mobile, and when you're in the shower, the light switch will start to swing, followed by the mobile, when there is no breeze whatsoever. I know it sounds stupid, but I swear it really happened. Thank you for your time. This experience happened to me when I was 12, but it also reminds me that I should probably narrate stories when I get older. When I was 12, I used to go on YouTube to narrate a lot of stories. It was a lot of fun, but I realized that later in life, nobody wanted to comment, like, or subscribe. So I let them comment, I let them subscribe, and what do you know? Nobody still subscribes or likes. I was very sad because I figured if someone commented, like, and subscribed, it would make me happy. Unfortunately, nobody wanted to hear my horrible voice. It was so crappy, and my reading style was less than stellar. So, I began 18 years of narrating, and I still haven't gotten there. I still slur my words, and this is not a real story. None of this is true. This is fake news, and I hope you don't believe in that, because if you believe in that, I guess I might be sad. But maybe not. Maybe I'll be happy that you took the chance. You know, when you're old enough, you'll get to realize that I don't know what I'm saying, guys. Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I know I've been really off, and I know the algorithm is messing me up big time because, you know, YouTube just doesn't like my content all the time because, you know, if I upload a video a day after, you know, my deadline, YouTube is just gonna be like, nah, not promoting it, you know, I'm better than this, you know, you don't get this shit out of here. And they're gonna demonetize this video because I said shitty shits. So, whatever. I mean, screw it. At this point, nobody cares about families anyway. The family bond has been broken. But seriously, guys, let me know in the comment section what story you like the most. There was a story by John O'Connor that he specifically sent to me, and I'm so sorry that I took so long to get your story, you know, available to the public. But hope you enjoyed it, the narration. Hopefully I did it justice, and guys, love you. Good night, good morning. I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully this video turned out okay. I'm praying that it did.